There we go. This is more typical of that mini philodendron, of the size that it gets right about there. You can see it's got really nice striations in the leaves, like little ribs on it. Really nice. Man, that thing has gone kind of bonkers in here. My goodness. It's really happy down in the dark under there. So here's a piece of a different form of Elaphoglossum peltatum. You can see it's a different form here. Here we go. Now it's coming out in clumps with the sphagnum moss, so that's good. Mosses. Oh, filmy fern. There it is. That's one of the ones I was hoping I would find. Look at that filmy fern right there. That is beautiful. Look at the shape of those fronds there. That's awesome. I'm so glad it looks to be alive. I'm hoping it's still alive. It's hard to say. Sometimes filmy ferns can actually be dead and appear to be alive still, just because the foliage is able, the cells in the tissue is able to absorb moisture, and then it actually looks like it's still alive. Like the fronds will still be green sometimes, even if the plant's kind of like pretty much dead. Put that filmy fern in a bag and mist it. Got to keep those filmy ferns really moist, really wet, really humid. Here's these big tweezers that I have here. This stuff is heat shrink tubing that I put on it. I did that so that when I'm working inside glass containers, like planting terrariums, that this will not hit the glass and scratch it. So I kind of put little guards on there. I'm just gonna start ripping chunks of stuff out of here. This is brutal. Okay, so here's some Elaphoglossum again. Some kind of fern. This is one of my favorite ferns. I do have this fern elsewhere, but this is the smallest Asplenium species, or I should say one of the smallest that I'm aware of. It doesn't get a lot bigger than that. I have that species in other tanks already, but it'll be good to have more of it because it's one of my favorites. Here's some nice liverworts and moss and things like that growing down in here. I'll sort through all this stuff later. And here's some more micro ferns. Nice miniature Asplenium ferns. Some nice moss. And there's a Elaphoglossum and some micro ferns of some sort. It's going to be really fun to spread this stuff out in some bins and let it grow back out and get healthy again with some light and a little bit of fertilizer. Sometimes there will be spores in there, sometimes there will be seeds in there, things like that, and then those can start growing out. There's a bunch of Elaphoglossum down in here. Really nice clump of it, small clump. Looks like there's another piece of filmy fern right here. This may or may not be the same one. Ooh, look at that. So here's the filmy fern. Looks similar to the other. I think this is the same species. And then this is some kind of little weird, probably just a baby micro fern. Look at that Elaphoglossum. That's super nice. So, speaking of growing these out and seeing whatever happens with all this stuff, make sure you subscribe and then click the little bell icon next to the subscription button, and that way you'll be notified. And by the way, I appreciate everyone that subscribes and people that comment and like my videos. I really appreciate your support, and it helps my channel so that I can keep doing stuff like this. There's a little bit more stuff in here. Still some to go. I think a lot of the remaining will just kind of be sphagnum that was just the substrate underneath all the plants, and there won't be much in there, but you never know. You never know. There's a really nice leafy liverwort in here I'm going to pull out. This is a Plagiochyla, most likely. It's mostly dead. There's some live growth on it. This is a liverwort. It's a leafy liverwort. There's two types of liverworts. There's leafy and there's thallose. Leafy ones look more like moss, and they have little kind of leaves, and they just, looks like moss. And then thallose liverworts are the typical ones that you'd think of, like Marchantia and stuff like that, where it's just kind of like a big, weird, broad thing, and it just looks strange. That's what those are. You can research that if you're interested in learning more. This looks like some other kind of liverwort, maybe Plagiochyla. Yeah, it's probably Plagiochyla. It might even be the same one, just sometimes they look different. It's smaller in this case. You know, they're from the jungles and so forth, and so they are able to survive quite well in a low light environment, so a lot of that overgrowth and stuff wasn't much of a problem for them. In fact, many of them probably enjoyed that. There's a little fern there, some liverworts, some kind of moss that's dead but could come back from spore. Okay, so here's the rest of the substrate. We'll go through that in a little bit. Got the empty container here. Gonna clean that out. Here's all of the micro philodendron. There's quite a lot in there. A few liverworts and a few little miniature ferns and things like that in here. This one is a little bit of Elaphoglossum peltatum, one form. Here's a different form of Elaphoglossum peltatum. Here is some filmy ferns, a few micro ferns, and then this is additional substrate that I'm going to go through that has some moss and little things in it. Here's the main bin with all the larger philodendron and all the peperomia and stuff that was hanging out the top of the thing.